we'll give away at the end of the meeting. But I want to turn things over to the next instructional message. And boy, did we line up an awesome ending to this session for this meeting today. We've got Mr. Mike Abramowitz to talk about expanding your names and your contacts, and then going right into some phone tips. Luke Maseko on the power of TLA, explaining the program and how to get into it. And then Mr. Andrew Evans is going to wrap up with talking about the main event, the Super Bowl of all conferences, Summer Conference 2. But I want to take the time and turn things over to my dear friend, Mr. Mike Abramowitz. I want to spotlight him. And Mike, I'll give you the opportunity to share screen if you need it. Okay. Guys, you've heard and seen Mike's name throughout the entire beginning portion of this meeting. I just want to share with you, Mike's success as of recently has been one of the most looked at, runs in Cutco in the last couple of years. And, last year culminating his takeover of the Tampa area with 2 silver cups. Those are just the accolades. But the thing that you should really hear on this message before he speaks is that Mike has a history in a bank, a vault of Cutco selling knowledge that year after year he uses to develop the most unbelievable Cutco organizations and teams and alliances. He is also one of the trademark signature creators of our 10K Alliance program. And Mike today is going to share some of the goods on how do you expand your names. Now, if you're new, brand new, this is all going to be great, absolute new content for you. If you've heard Mike speak before, and if you've been to advanced trainings or multiple meetings, he's actually going to reference a doc that I pray that you've seen 6, 7, 8, 9 times. But what can you take away from this? What avenue have you not explored? Or what part have you explored but haven't poured the fuel to the fire? So Mike today is going to talk about creating more appointments, which includes getting more clients and, of course, phone tips. I turn things over to my good friend, Silver Cup champion and leader of our Tampa organization, Mr. Mike Abramowitz. Michael, you're up, sir.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. And I very much appreciate everybody for being here today. Here's what's interesting. I just celebrated my 16-year anniversary. 16 years. And if you follow me on social media, you'll see Mike with the cornrows, Mike with the Jew-fro, with the headband, Mike with very, very little business and professional etiquette. And what's interesting enough, I think back to that summer when my sample kit was stolen out of my car, and I was on my 6th week on the job. So it was right. I was about 4 weeks into the job because it was right before SC2 hit. And it was about 4 weeks into the job. And my sample kit was stolen. This is when we were doing live demos. My rec binder was in there, so I had no recommendations. I had no knives. I was at about maybe 5-6K in sales, and set myself up with a $6,000 SC2 push from scratch. And this is going back when the Homemaker set was like $800, 16 years ago. And using some of what I'm about to share with you today is how I was able to build my business from scratch when my kit was stolen when I was new. And these are the same principles that helped me start up my business in Tampa. When I moved to Tampa for USF, when I moved to Naples, when I ran a branch, when I moved back to Miami, when I ran a branch, when I moved to Clearwater to be a district, to sell my $330,000 worth of Cutco I've sold, and the 7,000 recommendations I accumulated through college. This message is what propelled all of that forward. So I have two topics we're going to talk about today. First one is going to be mindset. Second one's going to be skill set. So as far as mindset goes, the first thing I want to talk about are a couple of these concepts. The first one is risk versus reward. I think it's important for you to know that the only thing that you're really risking when asking someone for an appointment, or asking for a little bit of their time, the only thing you're risking is a little bit of your time and a little bit of your ego. What if you knew that if you reached out and asked 100 people for their mom's number and you got 10 phone numbers, 90 of them rejected you, 90 rejections, but you got 10 new numbers. And from those 10 new phone numbers, you sold 10 ultimate sets. And those 10 ultimate sets gave you 10 recommendations each. And now you have 100 new numbers. Would you say that's a failure because 90 people rejected you? Probably not. So the concept of what's the risk? It's just your ego. If someone does say no, like what's the difference? Rejection's not real. Rejection's a part of the process of getting you to success. So the idea is is not that you had 90 rejections. The idea, the mindset is, I got 10 new wins. I got 10 new wins I didn't have. So rejection is not real. It's either it stays the same or you get better. I would write that down. I either stay the same or I get better or I get more, because there's no risk. You just lose a little time. You lose a little bit of ego, but like what's tough on the character, or what's tough on your, like, as far as your results, is great for your character. So it's only going to get you better at life. I promise you. I love the concept that no one gets mad when you're asking for favors. Do you really think that if you called up Mrs. Jones and your buddy's mom from 8th grade basketball, and you said, hey, Miss Davis, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I played basketball with your son over at Matawan Middle School. How are you? Good. I was hoping you could do me a favor. And she says, what? How dare you? You haven't talked to this family since 8th grade. I can't believe you. The audacity of asking for favors. Harold, can you believe these kids nowadays calling and asking for favors? Can't believe this, right? So no one's going to get mad at you for asking for a favor. So I think it's important for you to keep that in the back of your mind, that most of the people in your target audience that you're calling are nice. These moms, the stereotype they have about your age group is that you're lazy and you want things handed to you. So by you helping them understand that you're not the stereotype, you're not the norm, and that you are actually worth helping out, they're going to want to help you. The other mindset of being unattached from the outcomes. And what I mean by being unattached from the outcomes. So I want you to keep this in mind. When you are playing sports, if you're an athlete, when you're playing an instrument, you're not focusing on the victory. You're focusing on the process that it takes to get you to the victory. So why not adopt that same principle here? You know, if you're in academics, you can focus on the big test if you want, but you're going to get overwhelmed. You focus on the process it takes to get you to get good at taking tests, right? Do your homework, do your study sessions, do your tutor sessions, right? So keep that in the back of your mind as you're asking for appointments. Be unattached from the outcomes. Who cares what they said? It doesn't matter. You just focus on the process that produces the results. Focus on the process that produces the results. The last two, before I transition, spend the majority of our time on skill set, is asking, getting contacts from yourself first. This idea of getting contacts from yourself first. See, anytime I have a representative say, Mike, my customers aren't giving me recommendations. And by the way, kudos to Andrew Evans for giving a great documents and talk on getting recommendations. The reason why customers don't give you recs is because you didn't get them from yourself first. You want to get confidence that you already got all the people they were going to give you. Think about it in these terms. What if you understood that anyone your customer was going to recommend you to, you could have found first? I would make that a game. How can I find the people first? Right? Like, you don't have to have one teacher recommend you to the other teachers at the school. You can go find them on your own. You don't have to have one band mom recommend you to other band moms. You could find all those band moms on your own. So how could you get those recommendations from yourself first and make it into a competition? And lastly, asking with confidence. And what I mean by asking with confidence is knowing that what you're asking them for is a little bit of their time, And by you getting good at asking for a little bit of their time is going to help you tremendously in the future. That's all you're asking for, a little time. And how do you ask with confidence? If you're not your heart's beating, you're nervous, you're like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? So how do you ask with confidence if you feel that way? Well, first off, I would try to rewrite the story of not feeling, those feelings, but I would say smile, right? I would say nod your head. I would say sit up straight. I would say fake it until you make it, or fake it till you become it. What does a confident person do? How do they sound? Do they talk really soft with their voice? Or do they project their voice, right? What do they do with their voice? What do they do with their nonverbals? What do they do with their head, their posture? Just do those things. And when you can adopt the right mindset, all this skill set stuff is going to be so easy. The skill set doesn't take much skill. It doesn't. It just takes a little bit of winning that mental game to say, you know what, screw it. I'm worth it. My goals are worth it. Leadership Academy is worth it. Big Push Performance is worth it. My future is worth it. All the goals that I have in my life is worth it. So I'm going to be willing to risk the rejection. I'm going to be willing to risk a little bit of the time. I'm going to be willing to ask for favors. And if you're willing to do those things, you're going to be willing to implement the skill set that we're about to talk about. So here's the skill set. I'm going to hit on 4 things. We're going to hit on advanced queue setup. We're going to hit on finding more clients. We're going to hit on leveraging Facebook and piggybacking off what Andrew talked about and giving you some phone tips. So get ready. I'm about to share some of this is basic, but some of it's going to be a little advanced too. So it could be reminders for a few of you, and for some of you, it might be a little advanced. So as far as queue, many of you understand how queue works. Most of you understand some basic concepts of queue that if you didn't know. Number 1, you can send a text message to every single person that you have in your phone, and it has an automatic text message to ask for their mom's number. So if you have not done this beautiful gem of a resource yet, I would put it on your to-do list ASAP to go through your queue, import all your contacts, and send a direct message to every single one of your friends asking them for their mom's number. That in itself will help you get a ton more appointments. You might say, but Mike, I've been doing this for so long. I already asked my friends for an appointment. Some branch managers are listening in, or assistant managers. Great. Maybe you catch them at a good day. Maybe the last time you asked them, they were at a bad day, right? Circumstances change. Pandemic changed some people. People are a little more welcoming and forgiving nowadays, right? Then you have this little I don't even know, the add contacts button here. That add contacts button is going to help you add your own personal contacts along with your recommendations. So everything that Mr. Andrew Evans just talked about, you want to take all of those spreadsheet lists and you want to import them into queue. How long does that take? I don't care. We don't train for time, we train for success. But by you being organized is very critical, very critical. And you want to spend, I would do this at the end of every day. At the end of every day, before I go check out Netflix, before I'm done with my, just kind of disengage from my phone, I would update my queue with all my recommendations for at least 30 minutes a day, every day at the end of the day. This part I would highly recommend you taking advantage of is taking notes on queue. Those same notes that Andrew talked about with, on the spreadsheet, copy and pasting them and putting them into the notes section. So when you're ready to make your phone calls, just in case you don't have the spreadsheet in front of you and you're like at a drive, just like driving to, to Steak and Shake with your buddies and you want to make 5 calls real quick, you don't have your spreadsheet, boom, you can pull up your queue and you have everything you need right there. I highly recommend that. I want to play this quick video for you. I'm going to play a quick video. It's 2 minutes. And many of you have seen this already, but I think it's relevant to your queue, because if you haven't watched this, I'm forcing you all to watch it. Okay. And you probably watch this in training, but let me go ahead and share my screen.
Mike, you have an optimized video, just to make sure.
The next thing you're probably going to want to do is add all the customers who weren't in your contacts in the first place. So again, if they have a kid who you imported earlier as a friend, you can go to Brainstorm, click Add, and just copy and paste their number in there. But for most of these people, and when you start getting referrals down the line, you're going to want to click this Add button up here. Now, if they're personal contacts, you check that switch, and you can add all of the contacts that you want here all at once.
I want you to pay attention to the notes section and the star.
Let's say Mrs. Jones is a star here. And there's tags here that I can use in order to distinguish people by where they live or any.
This tag concept is going to be your best friend. You put a star for your best people. Your best people get a star, and a tag for like different time zones, or do they already own Cutco?
Other attributes that I might want to. So let's say I have friends in Bergen County where I'm from, and also potentially customers on Long Island, which I don't want to be seeing at the same time, like during the same day. So
yeah, if you have someone
I'll make a new tag for Bergen County.
You might want to know the time zone.
And I'll add that one to Mrs. Jones. And the next person I input, Mrs. Smith.
And then you just click that little
and
more
then
button.
Let's say
you didn't want to
the last
that
person,
one.
I can add that there. And then if I had more people, I could just click add more tiles.
and you
But for
just
now,
go
I'm just
through
going to import
and
these
just
3.
import
And
them.
of course, if they were recommended by someone, I would put that recommend. They're all added right here. And I can filter by the people who are tagged as Bergen County and the people that are tagged as Long Island.
So that way, when you're ready to make your phone jams, when you're ready to do your calls, all of your people are organized. So say you're calling Western time zone. So say if you're like, it's 11 o'clock at night here, you go to your queue, you click Western for all the tags in the Western time zone, and you could phone jam at 11 p.m. at night. You want to maximize your push? That's a way to maximize your push, by being organized with your queue. When you sit down and make phone calls, you just click on your stars, boom, all your stars are organized. So that way you're calling your best prospects first. So you want to make sure that you're organized with your queue in order to really maximize getting your appointments the way you want. So, all right, so let's go ahead and go back to my slideshow here. All right, so the tags, I highly recommend you using the tags. I highly recommend you using, this whole idea of active contacts, callbacks, making sure that everything is organized in your queue. It might take a little time, but man, it can make your life so much easier. And lastly, during a brainstorm activity, I'm going to walk you through in just a moment with helping you find more customers. I would use this little, plus sign where you could add more people to your contact list in queue. So finding more clients, let's go ahead and move here. So this document that has been circulating around has been a staple in our business now for the last, I don't even know, since 2017 maybe. I think I created it maybe 2015. Now I'm thinking about it. I've just updated it throughout the years. But this document, you all have access to it. I already sent it out. You should have access to it. Right here, here's the deal. What does it say? Using extended family. If you have not reached out to every person who's ever come to a family event, barbecue, 4th of July, I mean, I would encourage you to think back. If you really had to think back to a Thanksgiving where it was not at your house, like you went to someone else's house, and think about a random stop by, every single one of us could probably think of at least one person. I just thought of someone. I thought of my sister brought a random dude one year to one of our Thanksgiving at my sister Deborah's house, probably 10 years ago, right? That's a dude that I could call my sister and say, hey, who was the guy you brought to Thanksgiving 10 years ago? What was his name? Do you remember? Cool. Can I have his number? And that's one extra contact. Like, you just go fishing for prospects. You could go fishing for contacts if you're thinking about it the right way. You just organize your thoughts by just really thinking about it. Use your resources. I mean, mom's Facebook, for crying out loud, she at least has hundreds of people. Grandma's Facebook, your auntie's Facebook. I mean, all these people you can go through. You could go through emailing your past teachers. Are you kidding me? Do you understand that teachers are still in session right now? All of your teachers are still in session till July. We've never had that in our lives. I mean, that's incredible. They're actually checking their emails because everything is technology nowadays. So you can go to your school's website. I bet your ass that a good majority of your teachers' emails are on the school's website. And you could just go copy and paste and send that email to your teachers, to your professors, to any of them. That's a great resource that you can use. This sticky note approach, write these little sticky notes, put it on, a couple of your neighbors' doors that, you see a car in their driveway. Hey, just introduce yourself. Just put the little sticky note on the door. See what happens. We had a girl, Courtney Clark, did this. She was actually legally blind, so she could only do virtual appointments. This is back in 2015 when the virtual demo wasn't really, it was just on the up and up. It was just starting. And she was kind of running a little bit low on prospects at one point where she wanted more, and she lived in a nice neighborhood, didn't know the neighbors' names. So she put the little sticky notes, put them, she had Jenna Perry went with her and held her arm in arm and put these little sticky notes. And Jenna wrote the sticky notes for her, walked her arm in arm because she was blind, legally blind. She couldn't really see very well. Put 14 sticky notes out, ended up getting 10 appointments, and ended up selling 4 homemakers from those 10 appointments. I just remember it was 4 homemakers that she sold from putting these sticky notes out on her neighbors' doors, and then ended up getting a bunch more recommendations. So it's not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. I would write that down. It's never about resources. It's always about resourcefulness. So having all of these ideas, your professors, I mean, I remember when my sample kit was stolen, I went to my old job, the job that I quit to sell Cutco. And I just showed up one day. And I remember Bob Reveley, I asked him, I said, hey, Bob, I know it's been a while, but I was hoping you could do me a favor. I got this job and it helps me save money for college, a scholarship appointment. He's like, why don't you come into the break room? I'll meet with you right now. I was like, no, I usually do it at homes with wives and husbands. He's like, no, I'm not married, but I could sit down with you right now. You're not coming over to my house. I was like, okay. I was nervous. I was new, but he took me to the break room. I did an appointment. He bought a fishing knife. He then on the loudspeaker said, Frankie Smith, please come here to the break room. Frankie Smith came in from Delhi. He bought a galley set with a cleaver. And then Frankie hopped on the thing and then called someone else in, and he didn't have the time. So he invited me over his house and I sold them an Essentials Plus 5. Right? But it's not about resources. It's resourcefulness. And I'm not saying do these things. But I'm also saying these are the things that I did during push to push myself outside my comfort zone, to do things I never normally would have done because it mattered to me. I wasn't a district manager. I wasn't a branch manager. I wasn't a scholarship contender. I was just hungry for growth. I was hungry for more. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to do things that I never thought I could do. That's what push was for me. And that's why I love giving this talk about getting more appointments, because you have the resources. You just have to activate the resourcefulness if you really want it bad enough. Asking people for favors is no big deal. You might get rejected. Who cares? All right. Leveraging Facebook. I know Andrew kind of went over this already from asking customers on your appointments, but I think the best thing you could do is outside of appointments, begin asking people for Facebook. So what do I mean by that? It says message to friends for parents number, but right underneath that, it says a Facebook post from customers and family. My challenge to you is how many people, could you make a list right now of people that could put a Facebook status up for you? In the next 24 hours, can you make a target list of moms that could put a status up on Facebook for you? Whether or not you did a demo for them, but they're just over 30. How many people over 30 can you brainstorm right now that their networks, their connections are in your target demographic? Could you get 5 or 7 or 10 or 15 moms to put a status on Facebook? And it'll be like, if you ever saw Fire Festival, right? The Fire Festival documentary, it would be like a blitz of just you. It would be social media branding of you, right? And you have 10, 15 moms just put the same post about you. So it floods Facebook. The algorithms, say, oh, you must be popular. And then how many more people are going to see, like, and comment? Jessica Shana nailed this a couple months back. She had a mom post this in her mom's group, and she had other moms post at the same time. She got over 50 comments and 100 likes within 72 hours of one post. And she probably ended up selling somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 grand just from that Facebook post. So leveraging your Facebook and your parents' Facebook and these moms' Facebook is critical. How can you message? You could also message potential customers on Facebook. This is a copy-paste template. Can you make a list of all the people that you can ask them? Can you send them a message to say, hey, I know it's kind of random, but would you mind if I message some of your friends on Facebook? Would you mind if I just message a couple of your friends on Facebook introducing myself? It's just an introduction. That's all it is. An introduction. In this folder that all of you have access to, the Phone Jam tools, there's an example here of Cassidy Sanborn, just hit $30,000 yesterday. So kudos, Cassidy. Shout out to you. This is what it looks like. You take a photo and then you put the who can help me out. Super, super simple. In this document is also at the bottom is your Facebook approach, right here. So the initial Facebook message, hey Jane, I hope all is well. I have a favor to ask you. Would you mind putting a Facebook status up for me? It would really help me out with some goals I'm working towards. I'll send you a template of what to post, and I'll also send you a photo of me. Would you be nice enough to put that post up? It would mean the world to me. And then you send them that photo that Cassidy had. Facebook post to share, just like it says, who can help out? Boom, name. Then permission to message their friends. After you ask them to put a Facebook status up, you say, hey, Jane, hope all is well. I found that a lot of people have more friends on Facebook than in their phones, and I'm trying to work on my social media marketing and advertising. So is it okay if I sent a message to some of your Facebook friends introducing myself to them and share some of my goals to see if they might be able to help out? Would that be okay? Thank you so much for all your support and your help, right? And then this is the message. This, again, was sent out to you. I'll tell you right now, Facebook, Andrew already hit on it. Social media this is critical. So you want to make sure your profile is up to date. Have a nice profile picture of yourself, and also your cover photo is like a family photo or a sports photo of some sort. You have that set up, you're going to position yourself for something really, really exciting for the SC2 push. So what did we talk about so far? We talked about finding clients. We talked about you setting up your queue, leveraging Facebook. I want to transition into some phone tips for you. Some phone tips. Let me come in for some air before we do so. If you could hit up your WhatsApp chat, your biggest light bulbs, your biggest takeaways with everything we just talked about so far before I transition to some phone tips.
Michael, I'm going to speak while people do that. I think a big part of what I always hear when you give this message, I just see these looks on people's faces, and I'm looking at some of you, and I know you. You've been here for months. No, I won't say your name on my division. I'm watching your face, and it's something we've talked about, but ready? Sometimes it just hits differently at this meeting. Sometimes you need to hear it 3 or 4 or 5 times. The biggest thing I know from this message, it's not a matter of resources. It's resourcefulness. There are people to call. Are you going to go get them? That's the key. So, yeah, post your light bulbs. Mike, so far, awesome. So far, so awesome, as always.
Thank you.
We haven't even heard her to the meet yet. So keep going. Go ahead.
So in that folder that all of you have access to is some phone tips. Okay, so I'm going to give you some phone tips. These are my 5 tips to wrap up my message on phoning. You have a phone jam toolbox, the intro, the urgency, objections, and firm up. So let's go ahead and talk about your phone jam toolbox. There are some simple things to keep in mind when you're phone jamming. So when you sit down for a phone jam, number 1, you want to have your approach. Number 2, you want to have a schedule mapped out. Number 3, you want to have your queue updated with your goal. Number 4, you want to have your best list already queued up. And then your attitude. When I say attitude, I'm talking your 60/5. What the hell does that mean? 60 seconds per dial, 5 minutes per call. 60 seconds per dial, 5 minutes per call. So one of the fun little activities that you could do for your phoning is you could play a song. So like have your Spotify running, and then the question that you want to ask yourself is how much time is spent in between calls. So if you play a song that's like 10 minutes long, and you should not be able to get through a 10-minute song in an entire phone jam, because every time you hang up a phone, you're dialing again. So you only get through like 4 seconds of a song every time. So if it's a 10-minute song, you don't even have 10 minutes of break in between during a dialing. 60 seconds for dialing, 5 minutes for talking to them on the phone to book up the appointment. Just a simple principle as far as your attitude goes, and you will dial so many. You'll set up so many appointments. The next phone tip for you is urgency. Okay. As far as urgency, so as far as phone urgency, yeah. So urgency. You always want to have a goal that you are sharing with your customer. You always want to have a goal that you're sharing with your customer. So when I say when I'm saying setting up my appointments, I have a deadline. I have a goal of 10 appointments by Monday night. Is it like if today's Tuesday, it's maybe by Thursday. But I give myself like a 48-hour window. I have a goal. I offer 2 options, so it's a yes or yes question. I give a deadline, and here's a couple of phrases. I normally wouldn't ask this, Miss Jones. I normally wouldn't ask this, but I'm kind of in a pickle. I told my manager I was actually going to have 5 appointments for Thursday. I only have 3. Is there any way you might be able to help me out and squeeze me in for an appointment? It would mean the world to me. You know, something like that. Something like that. I normally wouldn't ask this, but I'm kind of in a pickle. I told my manager I was going to do 5 appointments on Thursday, but I only have 3. Is there any way you might be able to help me out with a quick appointment? It would really help me out a ton. Right? So simple, super simple, but really effective. As far as a powerful intro, I want to mention this. You want to sound like someone that they want to spend more than 5 minutes with. So when you do a powerful intro, you want to sound very confident. You want to sound like someone they know. You want to sound like someone they know is that they're expecting a call from. It would sound something along these lines. Hey, Miss Jones. Hey, Miss Jones, this is Mike Abramowitz. How are you? Oh. This is Mike Abramowitz. I'm actually friends with Susie. I actually went to high school with her son, Derek. Yeah, I know the whole family. Yeah, they're super nice. And she said you were one of the nicer friends. You might be nice enough to help me out with something I'm working on towards school with a scholarship appointment. Do you have a quick second? So sound like someone that they were either expecting a call from, sound like someone they would want to meet. And there's going to be a full phone workshop tomorrow morning for those of you that get invited to the Gunner group. Objections. When it comes to objections, and then I'll wrap up with firm up. Interrupt their pattern. So say if a customer gives you an objection and they say something like, oh, I'm really busy. Or if they give you an objection of like, or they ask you a question of like, what is Cutco? You know, no matter what it is, you interrupt their pattern by either telling a joke or saying something like, oh, no problem. So that way you don't give them pushback or just overthink them. Or you ask a question, so you interrupt their pattern. So it sounds something like this. So if they say, if they say, oh, can you call me back later? Oh, thank you so much for agreeing to help me out. I know Sally said you were nice, but she didn't say you were this nice. So you're assuming the sale, right? And this is in that same document. How long does it take? Oh, like 4 or 5 hours, but I'll be the highlight of your day. I'm just kidding. Maybe an hour or so. So like tell a joke. You could interrupt their pattern by asking a question. The product's Cutco. Have you ever heard of it before? So you gain control by asking a question. Already own it. That's awesome. How long have you had it for? Again, ask a question. So you interrupt their pattern. Then you give them a reason on why they should still see you. And then you ask again. Give them a reason on why they should still book up the appointment with you. It's not too long. I'm really busy myself. I'll keep it really quick. That's why you should still see me, because I get credit towards a scholarship. It's probably stuff you have a ton of. I get paid just to tell you a little bit about it, but it's a lot of fun. Won't take too much time. And then you ask again, and you ask again with confidence. So that's your formula for handling objections. Lastly, after you handle objections, you firm it up. You firm it up. You thank them, have them write it down, reconfirm, think again. Firm it up. Thank them. Make sure they write it down. Reconfirm. Think again. Thank them. Write it down. Reconfirm. Think again. I'm so sorry to have you go through all this trouble, but I can pay for my entire semester of college if I hit my appointment goal each week. And the other day, I had an appointment and the lady didn't even remember. And it put me behind my appointment goal. Now, I know you wouldn't do that, but I just know people are really busy, and I just want to make it as easy as possible. Remember, so you sure this 100% time works for you? Oh my gosh, you have no idea how much this helps me out with my scholarship contest, right? So reconfirm and then think again. Think again. So my action steps for you, leaving this meeting and leaving my workshop. Make sure you import all of your context into Q. Make sure you brainstorm who else you're missing, who else you're forgetting. Resourcefulness, not resources. Make sure you're tagging your Q with time zones and Cutco owners. Update the notes section of Q along with the stars. Send out those Facebook messages and have your Facebook attack list and get those Facebook targets that you can have to post up on their Facebook, so that way you can position yourself to have an unbelievable month of July and an absolutely epic SC2 push.